I think Islam is destined for, he should fight Ilia Topuria at the White House. If he beats Ilia Topuria, he retires.
Islam was just ready. He's just too much for him. But it's only because we were ready for a super tough guy that, you know, a lot of people, you better not underestimate Jack.
Experts say Islam Makhachev's legacy hit a historic peak with his UFC 322 win, and many now urge him to face Ilia Topuria next and retire at the very top. To begin with, Michael Bisping broke down the matchup by emphasizing how completely Islam controlled the fight from the opening exchanges onward. He highlighted the momentum shift round after round, noting Jack's fading confidence and the visible frustration coming from his corner. As the pressure mounted, Jack's energy and rhythm slipped, making Islam's dominance even more pronounced.
As I said, it was domination. It was an annihilation. It was one-way traffic from start to finish, okay? We knew Islam was going to go out there and try to out-wrestle him. That's what he did. He was very successful. He took him down every single round, and the longer the fight went, the easier the takedowns became. Now, Jack, according to his coach, was stuck in the mud. He wasn't moving the feet quite as much. And at the end of every round, his coach, and I'm sure they have a great relationship, so they understand each other, should I say. But the coach was just giving him a hard time. He was like, what are you doing, mate? Don't sit there in half guard. Don't do this, don't do that. Come on, you got to fight him. You're stuck in the mud. He was just giving him crap every single time. And Jack, as the fight was going on, was just looking more and more deflated, dejected, defeated.
Furthermore, Bisping later pointed out how visibly uncomfortable Jack became as the fight wore on, not just from the damage, but from the feeling of being completely shut down. He credited Islam's relentless control and elite pedigree, noting that his win streak now places him among the sport's all-time greats, even if past champions set a higher bar through tougher championship runs.
DC and Rogan were saying that he was grimacing. He was grimacing in pain. I'm sure that some of the elbows and the punches and the calf kicks were all hurting. But I think for the most part, it was just the fact that he couldn't do anything. He was getting taken down. He was getting controlled. He did do a good job of not giving up, okay? Because, listen, Islam is a tremendous fighter, okay? He's got a record now of 28-1. He now ties Anderson Silva for a 16-fight win streak. I still think Anderson's was more impressive because 12 of those 16 fights were title fights, and that is more impressive.
In addition, Bisping continued by stressing how exceptional Islam's achievements truly are, highlighting his success across multiple divisions and the consistency behind his long winning streak. He detailed how Islam controlled every phase of the fight, capitalizing on Jack's risky attempts to counter-wrestle. Each exchange only reinforced the gap in skill, as Islam dictated the pace and positions throughout the matchup.
Wild knockouts from Anderson Silva, but still, I'm not taking away from Islam Makhachev. What he's achieved is unbelievable. He's a two-weight division champion. Anderson Silva didn't do that, and he has won 16 in a row, okay? So take a bow. Unbelievable. And it was domination from start to finish. He caught the single leg, and then he sweeps the other leg in round one. In round two, he pushes Jack up against the fence. Jack got a little bit too confident. He tried to go for a whizzer kick or a hip throw. Tried to go for a hip throw on Islam Makhachev. What are you doing? You don't do that. He shouldn't be trying to grapple with Islam at all.
Similarly, Demetrius Johnson continued his analysis by explaining how completely Islam shut down Jack's attempts to stand or create space. Every time Jack tried to build a base, Islam disrupted it and kept him stuck underneath. Johnson noted how unusually flat and unresponsive Jack looked, which only highlighted Islam's technical dominance and ability to smother even elite strikers.
Islam Makhachev would attack that post, keeping JDM on his back, and then JDM didn't have any answer there. I will reach out to Craig Jones to see if there was something wrong with JDM. He just didn't have an answer. That was a flat-footed JDM. He wasn't able to get anything going, anything at all. And it just shows you a test of how good Islam is.
Moreover, Johnson spoke about Islam's physical presence at welterweight, noting that he's far from undersized and carries real power for the division. He suggested that a showdown with Ilia Topuria would be the perfect final chapter of Islam's career, arguing that retiring on a high note is rare in MMA, where most fighters push their careers far past their peak.
I didn't think Islam was going to be able to, I didn't think Islam is small for 170. I've seen him in person. I've trained with him. He's a big fucking dude. And who would Islam fight next at 170? You know what? I think Islam is destined for, he should fight Ilia Topuria at the White House. If he beats Ilia Topuria, he retires. Islam has plenty of money, right? Go out on your shield like Khabib did. A lot of people in MMA don't want to see that, but in mixed martial arts, us athletes, we stay too long at the party.
Additionally, Ariel Helwani broke down Islam's latest victory by highlighting how one-sided the entire fight was. He described Islam's transition into welterweight gold as seamless, noting how quickly each round shifted to the ground and how Jack had no way to recover or build momentum. Helwani emphasized Islam's overwhelming strength, control, and composure, which made the performance look effortlessly dominant.
It's Islam Makhachev holding up the brand new welterweight title that he just won and the lightweight title that he vacated earlier this summer. He is the new UFC welterweight champion. He just thoroughly dominated Jack Della Maddalena. It was never really close. It was somewhat reminiscent. If you didn't watch the fight and you want to know just how dominant it was somewhat reminiscent of the Khamzat Chimaev Dricus du Plessis fight, which we saw back in August. The fight, each round starts standing. Shortly thereafter, there's a takedown, and Jack Della was just never able to get up. He was never able to do much on the ground. Towards the end of the fight, he looked defeated. He looked distraught. He looked deflated. His calf was messed up. Not to suggest that Islam didn't hit him with some shots standing, but it just was one-way traffic throughout. He is just so strong. He is so good. He is so dominant. He is so talented.
Beyond that, Helwani went on to highlight the scale of Islam's achievement, noting how joining the short list of Deal Division champions and extending his unbeaten run to 16 places him in rare company. He emphasized that Islam's resume is now surpassing even the legacy of his mentor, cementing him as the sport's top pound-for-pound athlete and a generational standout.
And now he becomes just the 11th fighter in UFC history to win a belt in 2 different weight classes. He is also the man who has just won his 16th fight in a row, and in doing so ties the great Anderson Silva for the longest winning streak in UFC history. So all kinds of history made tonight at Madison Square Garden. He is the pound for pound best in the world. There is no denying that, and is slowly but surely going down as one of the greatest ever, and in my opinion has put his mentor Khabib Nurmagomedov with this victory very much in the rearview mirror. He has surpassed him. If he had not done so already, Islam Makhachev.
Looking back, Javier Mendez described how sharp Islam looked in his final training sessions, explaining that he pushed him for a full 5-round effort. According to Mendez, Islam delivered some of his strongest work in the gym, showing intensity and precision deep into the final round. That late session surge convinced the coach that Islam was fully prepared for a dominant performance.
I triggered on 5 rounds because in sparring, he gave me an incredible 5 hard rounds the last time. The last sparring session he had, and before that he gave me some good ones, and I said, hey, your last sparring session, I'm gonna see the best 5 rounds you've ever given me. And he gave me 4 fantastic rounds last Thursday, and then I said, now give me the 5th one. I want to see better. And he performed better than the first round on the 5th round.
Moreover, Mendez explained that the mental advantage was the biggest focus going into the fight, and once the opening exchanges began, he immediately noticed the speed gap working in their favor. He described how Islam used a matador-style approach to control distance and avoid unnecessary clinches, only taking brief damage when he momentarily strayed from that plan. Overall, the strategy played out exactly as they expected.
The key point for me was the mental edge, and I wanted to give him that. And the rest, we were going to see what Jack was going to give us. When we got into the fight, we seen when Jack threw the first punch, I said, oh, he can't deal with our speed. He's slower than us. So I've taught Islam the Matador fighting routine already from a long time ago with David Ramos. So I say to him, I go, Matador, stay on the Matador side. Inside, we take him down, but we don't get inside. And at one point, he did get in the clinch, and he got hit with some shots. So it's the only time he really got hit, with some decent shots. But we told him we didn't want to be in the clinch, and if he was going to clinch, we got to be quick. But then he's still too used to holding the clinch first, and that's when he was able to get off the shot. So we implored him not to clinch.
In addition, Mendez highlighted that Jack's best chance was in close-range exchanges, where his power and striking could pose a threat. He praised Islam's preparation and readiness, emphasizing that the fight's one-sided outcome was a product of meticulous strategy and training. He also acknowledged Jack's toughness, noting that underestimating him could have led to a very different result.
I knew the only chance he had was an inside fight, where he has good power, he has good skills, he could get a good knee, a good kick, I knew that was the best chance for him. And Islam was just ready. He's just too much for him. But it's only because we were ready for a super, super tough guy that, you know, a lot of people, you better not underestimate Jack. He is a really tough customer. Just because this fight went our way, the way, you know, we wanted it to go, it didn't mean it could have gone the other way if we didn't prepare properly for it.
Similarly, MMA Guru praised Islam's performance, highlighting his dominant 5-round display at welterweight. He noted how Islam controlled the fight with relentless takedowns and top control, maintaining pressure throughout. These striking numbers further underscored his superiority, showing consistent accuracy and control over the full 25 minutes, reinforcing why he now stands as a dual division champion.
Islam Makhachev wins, dude. Double champ. Not simultaneously. They don't allow that anymore for some reason. But Islam Makhachev defeats Jack Della Maddalena at welterweight. 5 rounds, dominates him. Gets the takedowns, stays on top. I think these were the strike stats. 5 rounds against JDM. 26 significant strikes landed over 25 minutes.
On a technical level, MMA Guru broke down the technical side of Islam's performance, noting nearly 20 minutes of dominant control and perfect takedown success. He highlighted a rare defensive moment from Jack, which briefly disrupted Islam's rhythm, but emphasized that it did little to challenge his overall dominance. The commentary framed Islam as the undisputed top fighter in the sport, now reigning at 170 pounds.
19 minutes of control time, 4 for 4 on takedowns, dude. His takedowns were good. At one moment in round 2, JDM stuffed a takedown, I believe, or stuffed a clinch attempt, I guess they'll call it, because it failed, and then used the overhook to throw Makhachev and then chucked himself on bottom. And that was a fun moment. So this is where we're at, man. This is great. This is great. Makhachev's 170 champ. The GOAT of the sport.
Furthermore, MMA Guru emphasized how Islam's performance has firmly placed him in the GOAT conversation. He praised the consistency of his takedowns and control, noting how compelling it was to watch him dominate Jack throughout. The fight not only showcased Islam's skill, but also captivated fans worldwide, reinforcing his status as one of the sport's most dominant and exciting athletes.
Definitely in the conversation right now. With this being able to call Makhachev a GOAT, maybe, and Benoit Saint-Denis win, maybe Lucas Tracy will return from his short retirement, who knows? But Makhachev just went out there, kept getting his takedowns, and man, just held JDM down, dude. It was riveting to watch him do it. I'm so glad that so many people enjoy watching that. Really riveting stuff, dude. What can I say, dude? The UFC betting scandal's gotten out of control.
Finally, Robert Whittaker discussed how targeting Jack's legs could have been a strategic angle, noting that slowing his movement might limit his striking power. He highlighted Islam's immediate focus on calf kicks, which quickly inflicted noticeable damage, and reinforced that Islam's wrestling remained a decisive factor, showing the complete and methodical approach that defined his performance.
I've always thought one angle of Jack's to work on would be his leg defense. I thought he's got top tier boxing, but I thought in his opponent's shoes, I would attack his legs first, try and slow down his his him walking you down, try to take some of the power out of his hands by cutting off his legs, and you know, open things up that way. Islam went straight for the calf kick within the first minute, straight for the calf kick, started doing some real damage to that leg early on. Obviously, and obviously the wrestling was always going to be a big factor in this fight. Islam does what Islam does.
Moreover, Whittaker explained how Islam's leg attacks dismantled Jack's striking foundation, disrupting his movement, defense, and ability to sprawl. He also praised Islam's timing and efficiency, noting that concerns about his cardio at welterweight were unfounded. Despite the constant physical demand of takedowns, Islam maintained control, while Jack visibly struggled under the relentless pressure throughout the fight.
But I think the leg attacks just took Jack's foundation away. You know, his grounding in that tight-knit boxing that he likes to use. It affected not only his movement when he was striking, but his defense, his backing up against cage, his sprawl ability. All of it. Not to say though, Islam's timing was just sensational. Sensational. And then you also saw, so I mentioned earlier when we first started that Islam's cardio was in question, just him moving up. How was he going to go throughout the thing? It seemed like, even though Islam was like being very physical to get these takedowns, Jack was losing that battle of attrition, being on his back. You know, he had grimaces the entire time. The pressure of Islam must be something crazy.
As the dust settles in UFC 322, one thing is crystal clear. Islam Makhachev has cemented his place among MMA's all-time greats. From start to finish, he set the pace and left Jack Della Maddalena without answers. Every expert we heard, from Michael Bisping to Demetrius Johnson, Ariel Helwani to Javier Mendez, echoed the same sentiment. Islam's performance was flawless. A masterclass in strategy and sheer dominance. But now the question looms large: will Islam take on Ilia Topuria next, giving fans one final historic showdown, or will he walk away at the very peak of his career, immortalizing his legacy? Could we be witnessing the birth of a dual division legend who retires undefeated in his prime? What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you've enjoyed this breakdown and want to stay on top of every fight, every strategy, and every monumental moment in MMA, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Trust us, you don't want to miss what comes next in the world of combat sports.